details. You're going to attach those receipts to your pre-approval form and, give it to the administrator so they can reconcile, they can approve, after you reconcile your expenditures. So when reconciling the P-card expenditures with the Title I school, you must provide a specific description of the items purchased or conference. In addition, the schools must upload the page from the school plan for student achievement, commonly known as SPSA, or school plan for student achievement update that specifically describes the items purchased. The receipt or invoice for the purchase and or the approved 10.12.1 form for conference registration. Do we have any questions on these two items?
No questions.
Okay. Moving along.
Claudia, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Quick question.
Yes. Go ahead.
If you submit the pre-approval for if a purchase is over $500, are we able to submit that after the fact?
Okay. Remember, it has to be a single item costing $500 or more. If your purchases amount, let me just look at that. What's going to happen, you can reconcile, but if they look at it, they might return to you and say, we need this form, and they're going to ask you to upload it. So do you have any purchases that you did and then went through?
Yes. So I'm just a little confused. So if it's only one single item that's over the 500, then I would need that form. But if it's an order that is multiple items, but it's over 500, I wouldn't need the form?
Yes, that is correct.
I see. Okay. That's probably why they didn't request it. I was just a little confused.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Okay, no more questions. Let's continue on. So now we're going to go over the steps to do a reconciliation online. So you need to log on to Citrix to access SAP Portal and BTS, and you need to enter your single sign-on and click on Log On. You're going to click on the Universal Work List to view the transactions. From the list of pending transactions, click on the transactions you wish to reconcile. Click on the transaction number. So once you are in this screen is where you're going to enter the location and funding information. You review the information at the bottom of the page. Change the GL account if needed. Fund, enter, the fund and the functional area if needed, and press enter. SAP will generate the message, items change on line 1, and activate. Oh, sorry, I think it went to work. And activate the cost center field once you do all this process. So now that the cost center field is activated, enter your 7-digit location code and hit enter. Hit the enter key to validate. Now we need to add a description of the items purchased. So click on the extras button to view additional options. Then click the document text and add a brief description of the items purchased. To add a description of the items purchased, click the extras button to view additional options, then click the document text and add a brief description. A new window will open and double click on P-card line item detail and a Word document screen will pop up. On the work document window, enter a brief description of the items purchased. Click the return button on the top of the screen to go back to the text in accounting document screen. Once you are back to the text in accounting document screen, click on the execute button to return to the park vendor invoice screen. Easy, right? So now we're going to look at how to attach a document. And what could be a document? It's an invoice, it could be a field trip authorization form, it could be a request for conference form, and or receipts. So now that we have entered the required information for the reconciliation, we're going to look at how to attach a document. So once on the park vendor invoice screen, click on the half triangle button to open and view the object menu. Open the menu path and select Create. Then click the Create attachment to attach a document to this P-card document. SAP will prompt an import file box. Select the desired uploaded document, then click on the Open button. The bottom of the page will display the attachment was successfully created once the attachment is created. Change the posting date to today's date and click on the Save as Completed icon. A warning message appears at the bottom of the screen. Press the Enter key to validate, because what's happening is that it's validating to today's date all the time. The reconciled transaction is ready for approval. The reconciler must approve the transaction. Hit the Approve icon at the bottom of the screen. The transaction is now sent to the second approving official. The approved transaction should no longer show on the universal work list display. So once you follow all this process, a message will be sent to the approving official so they can approve the transaction. So to get out of here, just click the X button to close the window and return to the universal work list. So if the transaction is ready for the second approver. When you need to reconcile a credit from a vendor, it must be done the same way as a bill transaction. You must add a description of the reason for the credit and change the funding line to the same fund and functional area that was used in the bill transaction. Do we have any questions?
None in the chat box.
Wow, I'm very impressed. You guys are pros in P-card. Very good. So we're going to look at, let's talk about how to dispute an incorrect or fraudulent charges and what to do if your card is lost or stolen. If you feel the vendor charged you incorrectly, you should talk to the vendor first and try to get it corrected with them. If the vendor is not willing to work with you and clear the incorrect charge, you must contact Citibank customer service and report the vendor. Then Citibank will try and correct the charges for you. For any fraudulent charges, you must contact Citibank customer service immediately, and they will close your card and issue a new one. Citibank will investigate the charges and refund your card within 30 days if the transactions are deemed fraudulent. You must also make sure that the disputed charge is filed within 60 days from the date of the transaction. Citibank will provide instructions via email on how to file the dispute form or affidavit. For both situations, you must reconcile the credit memo in SAP once you get the credit card from the merchant or Citi card. So if you get any fraudulent transactions or a charge was wrong, done wrong by the vendor, you still have to reconcile it, okay? Once you get the credit memo from them or the credit memo from Citibank, then you reconcile those as credit memos. But make sure that every transaction charged to your P card needs to be reconciled. So these are some samples of questionable policy violations and fraudulent purchases. So I'm going to test your knowledge on this. All right. So let's look. And would you please tell me if any of these transactions are questionable, policy violation, or fraudulent charge? So let's start with TJ Maxx. What do you think it is?
We have number one, number two, policy violation.
Well, I just want number one for now. So let's see. What do you think it is? TJ Maxx suspense. Is it questionable, policy violation, or fraudulent charge?
We have, they say violation and fraudulent.
All right. Well, let me tell you. It's questionable, and I'm going to tell you why. TJ Maxx is questionable because you may found, you may found some measuring cups in the clearance that the third grade need for a project. So even though it may look bad, it may be a very legitimate expenditure. So let's see, giftcards.com. Oops, I gave it to you already. So gift cards is policy violation because gift cards are prohibited under the PCAR policies. So let's look at linens and things.
Someone put questionable. Questionable and policy violation.
Okay. It's questionable because it's going to be the same situation as TJ Maxx. Okay. You go to linens and things and you find some kitchen towels that the fourth grade needs for a project, or anything like that. So it is questionable, and then most likely they're going to ask you, to send a copy of the receipt, and they're going to add an explanation of why did you buy those items for those stores. How about Starbucks.com?
Violation.
Beautiful. You are right. Because Starbucks.com is prohibited because, again, gift cards and beverages are prohibited under the PCAR policies. How about Ticketmaster?
Fraudulent, violation, and questionable.
Okay. Ticketmaster is fraudulent. Okay. Because the purchase of tickets should not be done with the PCAR and could be considered a personal purchase. So if you need to buy tickets for any reason, a purchase order must be utilized, not a PCAR. All right, well, very good. You guys did really great. So how do we dispute, what are the dispute procedures? Well, if more information is requested by the bank, you need to make sure that you respond to the request by the date specified by the bank. Make sure that you reconcile the transaction, even if it's incorrect or fraudulent. And once you get the credit from the vendor or the bank, reconcile it also. Your receipts and refund documents should be filed with the bank statement on a monthly basis. So if your car is lost or stolen, you should contact Citibank immediately and they will close your car and use a new car. You should also contact the PCAR unit to be on the lookout for a replacement credit card. Because what's going to happen, once you report it lost or stolen to Citibank, Citibank will send the credit card to the PCAR unit, not to you. It goes directly to them, and then the PCAR unit will forward it to you. So you want to, make them aware and to be on the lookout for it. Do we have any questions?
Not in the chat box. Oh, wait. Maybe I missed it, but how would you reconcile a fraudulent charge?
Well, when you're gonna reconcile it as a purchase, just the same way that you do your purchases. Once it gets corrected, by Citibank or by the vendor, and the money is put back into your account, then you are going to reconcile it as a credit. So actually, it's going to have to be 2 reconciliations. Did that answer your question?
So you have to choose a random funding line?
No, you're gonna have to, talk to your administrator and see. Usually, it's gonna have to be like general funds. That's usually the default, funding for the P card. So, but you still need to get, notify your administrator that this is what happened. We got a fraudulent charge in the P card. We still need to reconcile it. So I need a funding source. Once the money is given back by the bank, then you're gonna reconcile the credit to that same funding source, so the money goes back to it.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
No questions.
Okay. Do's, don'ts, and consequences. So let's go over them. District funds are either direct or indirect spending of public funds and subject to public scrutiny. Therefore, before, during, and after the procurement process, we must all be responsible, honest, prudent, and avoid participating in any decision making where there could be a conflict of interest or the appearance of conflict. So for that, we need to make sure that, I don't buy from my sister who has an office supplies place that I'm always buying from her, or from my good friend that offers these services that I always go to that good friend, because it doesn't look good. It could be a legitimate business transaction, but it could be a conflict of interest, or it could be, it's looked upon not being a good practice because you're favoring someone close to you. It may appear that they're giving you something back to buy from them all the time. So let's look at the do's and don'ts. So do report fraud, misuse, or abuse immediately. When the cardholder and an approving official leave the location or retires, make sure you send the forms promptly to cancel the P card. Never, ever, ever allow anybody to use your P card, not even your administrator. Remember that the card is on your name and you're fully responsible for any misuse of the card. Sometimes, and this is just an example, when the cardholder goes on illness leave or on vacation, the administrator says, oh, well, leave us your P card so we can continue buying stuff. And your answer should be, I'm very sorry, but I don't feel comfortable with it. Because, you are fully responsible for it, right? So any problems that they have with the P card will fall on you, because you allow them to use your P card, and you will be responsible for whatever they do. Reconcile your P card on a timely manner every month, and make sure you don't do the bid splitting, and be aware of the prohibited items. We must be aware of the consequences for not following the policies and procedures for the P card. And those are the suspension and termination of the P card, and you could face legal prosecution and or employment dismissal. And this is not to, make you scared or afraid of using your P card, or to be a P card holder. This is just for you to know what to do and not to do, and not to allow anybody to push you into doing something that you shouldn't be doing, like allowing anybody else to use your P card for purchases. If they need to buy something, then they need to come to you. That's why they make you the P card holder, right? So they need to work with you, and you need to be firm and not allow anybody to use your P card. And I cannot stress that enough, believe me. So let's do a knowledge check. So let me know. Do you know, is it okay to buy flowers for a staff member that is out on bereavement, a staff member's retirement celebration, a horticulture, floriculture class, or all of the above? What do you think?
They're putting C.
Beautiful. That is correct. So if you fill out the credit card exception form, remember, we cannot just buy it, okay? We still need to fill out the credit card exception form and get it approved by the credit card unit. Then you can buy those flowers for your floriculture class. It's okay to make pick-up purchases with one of the following vendors: your cousin's copy center, a business owned by a staff member, a friend's office supply store, or none of the above.
D.
Beautiful. Because remember that we use public funds and appearances, and avoiding conflict of interest are very important to have transparency. You guys did very well. I'm so glad. Do we have any questions?
No questions.
Okay. So now let's go over the recommended organization of records. We highly recommend the use of a retro folder for every school year with manila folders inside properly labeled to organize the PCAR records. Okay, so the following folders are recommended to organize the PCAR records. The first one is the pre-approval voucher forms. Those are the ones, pre-approval voucher, pre-approval form, whichever way you want it. You want to have a folder with those blanks, so in case somebody asks you to do a purchase with the PCAR, you just hand it to them and say, please fill it out. Let's get the approval by the administrator. I will be more than glad to do that purchase for you. The second folder is going to be for your bank statements for pending PCAR reconciliation. What do that mean? Sometimes you get your bank statements by a certain date, but your reconciliation is not due till the 18th, and many times we get busy, we don't reconcile until then. You keep all your bank statements together until you're able to reconcile. Then